It is a little after 10. We will go ahead and get started. I will call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Herron.
Here.
Senator Nemes.
Present.
Representative Ball. Representative Hodgson. Co-Chair Williams. Chair Lockett.
Here. Very good. I think we have everyone here, so that's great. We are going to move on to the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meetings? So moved. The minutes, rather, not the meetings. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. The minutes are approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Just one. We just have one person in favor of approving the minutes. Okay.
Sounded like everybody to me.
I think everybody approved. That's great. Those are approved. Perfect. All right, we will move on into our agenda with the Commonwealth Office of Technology, which is up first, talking about their form submission. So I'll get Jim and David and Carrie, if you would, come to the table, introduce yourselves. Make sure your mics are turned on with bright green light. And we'll continue. I think your mic is not on.
Here we go.
There we go.
Let's try it again.
Yes.
I'm Carrie Welch. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Architecture and Governance with the Commonwealth Office of Technology.
Good morning. I'm David Carter. I'm the Deputy CIO for the Commonwealth Office of Technology.
And I'm Jim Barnhart, and Chief Information Officer for the Commonwealth. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about the legacy applications. And over the past several months, we've gathered across all the agencies and are pleased to report that many of them have commendable progress in managing the legacy applications. Systems such as CAVIS, unemployment insurance, and Doris, among others, reflect thoughtful stewardship and what they've been doing to get them into a new platform. Looking ahead, all remaining mainframe applications are slated to come off either through an RFP, request for proposal, or another statement of work. And all of that's a strategic roadmap that we, as a part to retire all the mainframe applications in the near future. I'd also like to highlight the legacy funding. That's a capital fund that gives us $10 million every biennium. And this initiative supports a lot of the agencies in transitioning off their legacy applications. And Carrie will provide further detail on how those funds are deployed. Finally, I want to briefly mention that COT has two applications that we want to talk about today, and David and Carrie will go into detail on those.
So I'll go first. Out of the two on the report that was submitted, one is the Kentucky Aerial Photography and Elevation Data Program, which is part of the Commonwealth's Enterprise Geographic Information Services, or GIS. This program provides statewide aerial imagery and LiDAR elevation data to support state agencies, federal agencies, public and private partners across the state. But as you realize, this data quickly loses value because it only captures a moment in time. So with ongoing changes in the natural resources, with floods, tornadoes, landslides, that sort of thing, constant growth, industry, infrastructure changes, it's really important that we continue to receive funding for this program so we can keep this up on what's ideal as a 3-year refresh cycle. And that serves pretty much every Commonwealth entity and every state agency in the state. David?
And the other application that we have on the list this morning is Citizen Identity and Access Management. Today, as it stands, there's no real centralized identity for citizens to interact with state government. If a citizen consumes multiple services in state government, especially when it crosses cabinet lines, they may find themselves in a position of they have multiple accounts They have inconsistent experiences logging in from one to another. They don't look consistent. This project is establishing a service in order for us to provide that consistency and experience for the citizen interfacing with their government. So when they log in, they'll come to this service, authenticate to this service, and then applications that sit behind this service will get past those credentials to conduct business as usual. So the citizen will have that one common identity that will allow them to log into all of the applications behind the service, as well as that consistent branded experience when they come in to authenticate. There's several benefits that come from this. We'll be able to better meet regulatory compliance. In 2021, the White House issued an executive order establishing zero trust as the model for security across all federal entities. That includes the federal entities that hold us to compliance standards. So we're going to be measured against those standards as well. So being able to centralize our citizen identity helps us align to those requirements as they start coming down. And we're starting to see those in the compliance standards we're held to, as well as the NIST framework, the National Institute of Standards and Technology framework that we hold ourselves to. So that will help us comply with those regulations. It will also allow agencies that don't currently support advanced modern authentication technologies today to be able to do so without having to make major changes to their application. Adding things like multi-factor authentication. We all have services where we get a code on our phone or an application. We'll be able to put those in front of those applications. We'll be able to include identity proofing, holding a higher attestation level for people establishing accounts. So further verification that they are who they are when they create that account. And then things like enhanced monitoring that will help us detect behavioral things like volumetric attacks where people are trying to break passwords. We'll be able to better detect that because we'll be doing it in a central place instead of looking at multiple authentication mechanisms. It also adds to efficiency. We've already mentioned the efficiency that the citizens will see. They'll see a more cohesive experience coming to the state government, but we'll be able to better manage a single solution. We'll be able to better protect a single solution. Much like texting and driving, when you start dividing your attention, that's when bad things happen. If we can centralize on a more single approach, that will help us better defend and monitor and protect that environment. Any questions on that?
Yeah, thank you very much for your testimony. We certainly appreciate that. I'm going to start us off with just a couple of questions. One, just in terms of cost. So first on the aerial photography, I know that's an ongoing program. Can you speak to the current cost of that and then any projected cost increases in the future?
So right now, just to host and maintain the program, we're looking at about $1.2 million a year just to maintain the platform. To get the aerial photography and LiDAR elevation data, that has generally been several $1,000,000 a year. We were fortunate last biennium to get funding for the majority of that. However, it did not carry over. So we had to continue to use COT funds to pay the remaining part of that bill that we had the vendor do. But being able to continue those funds every 3 years, I do see that probably just with the cost of technology, and development technology, there will be cost increases, but I think a constant funding cycle would be beneficial to the program and to all the state agencies that it serves.
And can you kind of go into just a little bit more detail in terms of what those pictures are used for?
Yes, so they're used, it's embedded with E911. We use it for Energy and Environment Cabinet. The Transportation Cabinet uses it in all of their programs. So Commonwealth Office of Technology hosts the Enterprise GIS Data Clearinghouse per statute, and all of our agencies participate. So they are constantly loading their layers, whether it's wastewater, water, streams, roads, buildings, all of that's loaded in. We have parcel data now. So it just builds a comprehensive, basically data warehouse that can be utilized by multiple state agencies and even public and private sectors. Because in the last contract, we did require that the data that we received was non-licensed, so we could make it available to anyone and everyone who wanted to utilize it.
Okay. My next question would be for the citizen identity thing. I like that a lot, only because I've had issues going from one site to another and trying to log into this one, and then you can't get into this one, especially as an insurance agent. It's the biggest headache ever to try to get into DOI's website and then Kentucky's website and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about cost toward that, what that projected cost and the ongoing cost of that is going to be?
Certainly. The bulk of the cost is licensing. When it comes to security services and a lot of technology services, the world is going to subscription models. Everything is more of an operational cost than a capital cost. You're not doing an initial buy-in. So the bulk of that cost is the licensing. And considering the citizenry of Kentucky is around 4.67 million, I believe, in the last census, that's a large number to cover. So the licensing is the bulk of the cost, but we also have some of the staff that have to maintain the system going forward, and that's the interfaces to the application. We will have some cost savings, one, because applications currently have to leverage services to kind of do some of these things that this solution will provide. So we can offset some of those costs with that. We'll also reduce cost, hopefully, in like our help desks that support the citizens when they're trying to log in, because this will include self-help options that will allow them to maintain their account, manage their account, change their password and that kind of thing on their own without having to pick up the phone and call somebody. We have funded it in COT for the initial 3 years to get us started, to get us going down that road. And we've put in an additional budget request to sustain it in subsequent fiscal year. That's the important part to help carry this forward. We can stand it up, we can build it today, but we'll need the additional cost, the additional funding to help carry it forward.
What was that request for? The dollar amount?
The dollar amount is 2.5 million per year, or 5 million for the biennium.
Okay, thank you. Representative Hodgson.
Yes, thank you. First question is for the GIS. The two neighboring counties to me had a spectacular dispute when somebody's GIS moved several hundred people from one county to the other county's taxing jurisdiction, and that was some overlap between, I don't know, State Board of Election, county clerk, appraiser. So those key agencies that are out there, like State Board of Elections, county clerks, appraisers, are they using the centralized GIS database?
They are, and some of the recent data has helped them realize that of those issues.
Okay. Do we have any outlying agencies who are not using that?
The only state agency that I'm aware of that's not utilizing our GIS program is the Personnel Cabinet.
Oh, okay. But all the other local level, county level, they're all using centralized.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's a change from a year or two ago, right? Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Second question is about the centralized citizen ID database. Is it your aim to include every person in Kentucky or just those that access state systems?
Just those that access state systems. We won't carry the burden of the identities that aren't going to be used to interface with our system.
Roughly how many people is that?
That's to be determined, because we really don't have the application pool picked out for the initial run. So that'll depend on what services fall behind it.
Okay. A couple of million probably?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would say that's accurate.
All right, thank you.
Senator Nemes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, and it's probably needs to be brought up in A&R more than this, is you get funding from us for these great programs, GIS and things, but you also charge the cabinets and your agencies and et cetera. So how does that overlap? Because we're very concerned about duplicating our funding.
Sure, so I can talk a little bit about that. We go through an exercise every biennium to develop all of our rates and what our overhead costs are. Typically, the continuing cost of hosting GIS services in particular is covered what's called COT's enterprise assessment, which is billed quarterly to agencies, and that covers not only GIS but several other enterprise-wide where we can't drill down to like a particular user using a Microsoft 365 account, a server, a workstation, that kind of thing. But for this continuation to collect data and programs, we typically have had a pass the hat exercise and have been fortunate enough to receive some federal funding that we're able to get matches with local government but this would be able to help benefit the state as a whole instead of just our partner agencies.
And I understand that, but working in the cabinets, and it's hard to describe to, especially A&R. I'd like for y'all to get more succinct and detailed, if you can do that both at the same time, so that we can understand what you're asking for from the state to do, and then what you pass through. Because as the cabinets, we argued with you all, and you understand that, Mr. Barnhart. We argued with you all the time about your rates are too high. You already got the funding, and you should give us this, supply us this, because you've already been paid for it, and we're paying you duplication. So then, in essence, if that is true, which it was, in my opinion, in some instances, then the state is duplicating their funding, sending it straight to the cabinets for their IT and into COT for the IT.
And we always have in our rated services, we do not include any of those things. So our rated services are different than some of those things that are covered in the enterprise. So with that, but we can get more information and get that for you.
Thank you.
Senator Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A couple on both the topics. First of all, on the GIS data. So you're going to share this with local agencies. So are the PVAs going to be happy to use your data, or are they going to be, will be saving money because they won't have to be going out and paying other people to overfly their areas?
That is our goal.
Okay. And do you think we'll be able to achieve it in this biennium, or are you in discussions with them now?
We are in discussions with them now. There are some benefits with some of the vendors because of the historical data that they've had with the previous vendors that have been able to fly their counties or districts. But we're hoping once we get into this cycle that they'll see benefit. They'll be able to access that historical, imagery and reference it to new imagery as we continue to refresh.
So, and then some of the larger counties, if I may, Mr. Chair, they're overflying every year, and we're doing every 3 years. How will they knit that together? Are you considering that and how it works?
We are. One of the issues is the licensing. The data that the counties get on their own is typically licensed, so it can only be used within their county. What we're acquiring is statewide unlicensed, and that was part of the RFP that we put out when we awarded the vendor, is so we could be good stewards of money and share the data openly.
And so some of the savings may come at the local level, even if they don't come at the state level.
Absolutely.
Right, that's what we're looking at. Thank you. Okay, on authentication. Will this be on a .gov site so that all the, right now we got a plethora of sites, maybe not from the state, but from local entities. So we're going to do it from the state. We're going to extend it, I sound like, to local entities. So it will be a Kentucky.gov login that we see.
It will not be extended to the local governments because they don't live within our identity infrastructure. So they generally work outside of that. It has to be somebody that is inside of our identity infrastructure in order to leverage the solution.
So the cabinet officers typically are within. Will they all take advantage of it, do you think?
They have the opportunity to. Okay. It's not mandated, but our goal is to make it attractive, affordable, cost-effective, and efficient. Which is a good draw for bringing these applications in, especially in the areas where they don't have the wherewithal to meet the compliance requirements and use the advanced security that we're going to have in place on this. This will be an easy opportunity for them.
One final question. Sure. So, I have a couple sons that are in the business. Their life got a whole, and maybe some of the members of this committee's life got a whole lot easier when Microsoft started requiring multi-factor authentication, MFA, because they were supporting the back end. So do you anticipate requiring multi-factor authentication on this if we're really trying to figure out who this is out there? Will that be required, or will it vary? Will it be a statewide requirement, or will it vary agency by agency?
We eventually would like for that to be a statewide requirement, but right now we're leaving it at the discretion of the participating agencies as to how they want to impact their users. So the system is going to be designed to be flexible in that if you have an account that is not really sensitive in nature, but you really just kind of want to know who's coming in, it may not require that highest level of security. On the other hand, if they're receiving monetary benefits, you're going to want the highest level of security available so they can opt into the multi-factor authentication and identity proofing components in order to get that higher level of attestation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there further questions? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony. Thank you so much. We'll call the Department of Education to the table. If you would, please introduce yourselves. Make sure your green light is bright green on the microphones, and you may proceed.
Good morning. My name is Robert Hackworth. I am the Chief Cybersecurity Officer for the Kentucky Department of Education.
Mike Lettingham, the Director of Planning and Project Management and Office of Education Technology.
David Couch, the Kentucky K-12 CIO and Ed Tech Leader. So I'll cover some of the points in the form of other questions that you all may have. I would have to say, just to start out with, is we mainly approach what we do as a broker of technology services versus a builder of one. So we don't have staff that are doing software development, so we don't have any major software development that are up there. Anything that has been custom made in the past has been transitioned over to a cloud-based off-the-shelf product. An example of that is our when the Professional Standards Board was consolidated back into the Department of Education, they had over 100 different homegrown applications. We knew from my discussions with my equivalents of other states that there were off-the-shelf cloud-based products that were available. And that building that back in the many years ago, decades ago, may have made sense, but not 30 years later. So we did a bid and awarded it and consolidated those 100 different homegrown applications into an off-the-shelf kind of program. And so it's been our mode of operation for quite some time that we've been operating under. We don't have mainframes. We don't use mainframes, haven't used mainframes since 1995. We don't have legacy systems. We moved away from those quite a long time ago. For cybersecurity systems, is because we mainly take a cloud-based, off-the-shelf approach. We mainly use the cybersecurity tools available through our cybersecurity partners that are out there. But I would say, just in talking about cybersecurity in general, is one of the best defenses you can have is the savviness of your staff. So we do spend a lot of time with our districts and with our own KD staff about being savvy about cyber criminals. We have made it difficult, but not impossible, for cyber criminals to get through. But they have found the easier technique is to trick people and to get their username and passwords and other kind of techniques that they use to do that. So we try to work a lot on the savviness of the staff, which I always tell folks that's probably one of our major points of emphasis. We don't disregard the technology parts that we're putting around, which are very important, but the savviness of the staff is definitely super important. One of the real advantages we have, Kentucky K-12 compared to the other 4 United States, is our product standards. So we have one student information system, we have one financial management system, we have one internet system, and on, that provide services to all of our school districts. And besides being very efficient and cost effective and being able to integrate systems very easily together, it also makes it for a very strong cybersecurity defense when you have a standardization of the products like we have put in place, and they're cloud-based. Is we have taken the approach of sharing or shifting risks with our vendor partners, which means we couldn't keep up with this 24/7, weekdays, weekends. And so our vendor partners take on the responsibility of their services and their cybersecurity for those systems as well. The other technique that we use that I think is important to anyone that hears me speak is a healthy data diet. So it's constantly taking a look at the data that we have. Do we really need to keep it and keep it as long as we are keeping it? And is there a different way of doing things now 30 years later than the past? A good example of that is student Social Security numbers. We are trying to transition state agencies off of using student Social Security numbers. We've had unique student identifiers in Infinite Campus for 3 decades now. And I talk with my equivalents of other states who have moved off student Social Security numbers and definitely don't have the data of students going back 3 or 4 decades, which is important. So that's a big initiative that we have of trying to clean that up because, going back to my U.S. Army time, is you're trying to remove the target area and make it smaller and not make it, in the legal term, an attractive nuisance. And so we're doing that of saying you really got to have this and have it as long as you're having it. There's a different way of doing it. And I mentioned our vendor partners that put the cybersecurity defense in place. ENA by Zayo provides our internet service. Munis is our financial management. Infinite Campus does our school information system. Level Data does our educator credentialing system. We have GoGuardian for the internet content management, and Microsoft and Google as well providing the defenses that we have in place. I would like to mention one initiative that we have that's related to all these. We are transitioning all Kentucky K-12 organizations, including KD, the agency, from using Microsoft Active Directory over to Identity Automation, and that was done through an RFP. Identity Automation really focuses in on K-12. They specialize in it for identity management. And what that will do, it will tie in our other cloud-based systems. So it will tie in for the identities of Munis and Infinite Campus, the credentialing system, and all the other systems that we have in place. It reduces cost, but also makes it much more efficient. For example, in that transition, everyone will be required in K-12 in the districts to use MFA. Right now we have about 98%. That transition will make it 100%, for example. And there's other policies that we're implementing statewide that will require enforce cybersecurity practices be in place. So I don't know if you have any other. I'm prepared to talk about other topics if you're prepared to that, but I want to hit those main 4 bullet points that you had in your notes.
Okay. Do you two have any comments or anything that you'd like to add to that?
We're here to keep him in line.
Here to keep him in line. I understand. That's a full-time job, isn't it?
Handful. Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about you've probably heard and know about all of the issues with Kentucky Wired and everything going there. Can you speak to this committee in terms of the impact of that on KDE and our K through 12 schools?
Yes. So a couple items, I'll give you some quick background and context. I've provided you before, but I'll just kind of refresh you, and then I'll talk about the impacts if I could. All 171 of our school districts and all KD agencies, including Kentucky School Deaf and Blind, have been transitioned to our next generation Kentucky K-12 internet service. We call it NGKI through Education Networks of America by Zayo, and we've been on it for about 12 months. And the relationship is the prime can pick their subcontractors. We have 2 major subcontractors part of that. Fortinet provides our firewall support, and Excelicom is what I would refer to as our boots on the ground, going back to my U.S. Army times. I would say they're the boots on the ground that we have with the services we provide to school districts. We just entered into a 10-year contract with ENA by Zayo. And like I said, we just this month, I have 12 months, all organizations have been transitioned over to it. I would tell you it has been a grand slam in many meaningful types of ways. And districts, the feedback we get is they're extremely satisfied with that service during the transition. And it's important to understand when someone says continuity of service, it's more than just electrons going back and forth. It's just making sure you have the same functionality, the same quality, the same reliability, for at least the same amount of bandwidth for no more than what you're paying now for that service. And for us, that's very important. And we also have federal E-rate discounts, which reduce the price for 85%. So we have to have all that high quality and that reliability. Plus, we have to have an E-rate eligible to save costs across the state. And it's not as simple as going, if something's suddenly removed, it's not simply just going backward. That really oversimplifies it too much. Going back for us, for example, to KH3, but we used before, Kentucky Information Highway, it no longer exists for us because it's no longer E-rate eligible. Plus, we're paying 50% less than we were before, and we have more functionality. So we're not interested in going backward. Going forward, there's the huge risk and unknowns of a quick change to some other provider or some theoretical approach, especially given our size and complexity, and it has a lot more unknowns and knowns. And we use 25 times more internet than all of state government and local government combined. As I said, we're not more important, but it's definitely we're a major consumer of that service, and so it's very, very important for us. And so, obviously, we would like we want to make sure nothing disrupts that service, because it's been such a good experience for us from a lot of different aspects. So I have asked in the past, and I do have some assistance on here. When someone says, what is the impact of a short-term or long-term impact to your internet service if it goes down? And I feel that stress every day if it goes down for an hour. And let alone a day. Some schools even consider closing down the school district for a day if their internet service is going to be out for a day or 2 days. And it's like going back to the 1990s in a lot of different ways. So I did ask some of my friends what would it mean. And that means ChatGPT, Grok, and DeepSeek, and some others. So I asked them this question, and anybody can as well. What would be noticed and felt the most in the Kentucky K-12 if the internet was suddenly turned off for a short or extensive period of time in a school district? I found that its answers, while not 100% perfect, were very consistent with what we have felt. And I want to share some of that with you going forward. Now, once it did share those, it did ask me, do you want to know the impact from a student, parent, teacher perspective? And so I found that consistent from if it was down for a day, a week, or a month. And then it said, do you want a visual of it? And I didn't want a visual because I just imagine people just screaming. So I said, I'm okay. I'm kind of familiar. So let me just give you a quick highlights of what it would mean. We have 1.2 million computers in Kentucky K-12. We have 800,000 students and adults. And all of our, major technology systems are cloud-based, and they would be immediately and negatively impacted instructionally and operationally. We are the leader, in KD and K-12 is the leader in national cloud-based computing for education technology. But here's the immediate things that you all can relate to. Attendance would immediately impact it. That's a cloud-based system. The grades, the student records. Folks don't ever underestimate the power of a single system that we have that can transfer student records immediately across the state when students come and go from an organization. The parent and student portal is so important. With Infinite Campus, we have the live data of a student. Their attendance, their grades, anything else related to a student would immediately be impacted by the parent and by the students. From a district perspective, as far as payroll, obviously payroll would be immediately impacted because we use the financial management system of Munis to do that. And all the district finances would immediately be impacted. Safety and security systems, during my 30 years plus with KDE, there has been more and more things transitioning to the internet for basic services, and security is one of those. So surveillance cameras, door access, and alarm systems would be impacted. All the major communication systems of school districts, they think about telephones, are now done over the internet. Collaboration, email, video conferencing, and district websites would be shut down. Transportation system and buses. There's been a major shift of transportation now using the internet for basic services, along with food and point of sales in lunchrooms would be impacted as well. Online testing. And online testing is one of those is immediate feedback daily for the teacher. There is formative testing, which is like our MAP and PAP test, which gives every 6 months a feedback. And then we have our summative test at the end of the year. All of that's done online now. And the plus side of that is the feedback gets very back to the teachers much quicker by doing it online. Obviously, college and career skills and skill development would be impacted by our students not having these tools available. Differentiated learning, content and research and content creation and delivery. On the teacher side, learning and classroom management systems like Google Classroom and teacher lesson plans, and our assistive and adaptive technologies would also be severely impacted. Now, all those other tools do a pretty good job going at length. I've just consolidated that down, but it would be a major impact and a disruption and even chaos for something that impacts that is not a proven winner. And once again, what we have is very solid and very well received.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I believe we have a question from Senator Williams.
So my question is on your authentication. excuse me, on the authentication. So you essentially require MFA. You said that you got an authentication system. How is that going to work or interact with the state system? Are these two separate state systems? Will a student or a parent have to have one login to your system and another login for the state or the teachers, or how is that? Is there any overlap on those? And
No, the identity automation would be as separate as for K-12 schools. It's focused in on K-12 schools. The parents don't log into it. It's just for the teachers and the students and the leaders within the district. So it's really focused in on districts. And this company specializes in K-12 organizations.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions at all from committee members? All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony, gentlemen. We'll call up the Transportation Cabinet is next. Would
Good
you
morning.
please state your name and you may proceed?
I'm Heather Stout, the Executive Director of the Office of Information Technology for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Okay.
So I believe you've seen the list from COT, and transportation does not have projects on it. The reason for that is that the legacy projects, cybersecurity projects, those on the list that we have on our horizon are already funded, and we have planned funding for. But I do want to highlight a couple of those. One of those is the driver's licensing modernization project, Kindle. We began that project in February of this year, and we'll be completing that in June of next year. So a very short-term project. We're doing that with Fast Enterprises. It's going very well, and that will eliminate the need for the driver's licensing system on the mainframe. We're also just kicking off a project for the final component of the Avis modernization, which is the insurance system. So the entire mandatory insurance system will be going to a third-party vendor, MV Solutions. That project will be kicking off here in the next couple weeks and will be completed in about 8 months. So those are two major projects. We have also a few things in Department of Highways, a right-of-way system that is in need of modernization. That's underway. We're leaning towards a particular vendor to move forward on that. And then some of our other applications that are in a pipeline for replacement are actually in-house systems that will be either upgraded via a third party or completed in-house. If in-house, all of those funds are included within my labor budget for my contract staff. So those are all in the pipeline. We have a few other things like our data warehouse modernization, which is already funded. Possibly not completely funded, but until we define an architecture and determine how we're going to move forward with that, I'm not really certain the funding needs that are going to be there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. One question that I've got, there is a push and discussions around moving the driver's licensing centers away from the regional model and back to the individual counties. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to, from the IT side, what that would look like from the cabinet?
Those are really questions that need to be geared towards Commissioner Cole with Department of Vehicle Regulations, but any major system upgrade or system change like that would certainly require IT modifications.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Representative Hodgson?
Yeah, regarding the driver's license information, Kindle, I think you said it was. What information are you storing there? Are you storing images of vital documents like birth certificates and social
Yes.
security cards in there? Okay.
Yes,
So I hope that's highly secured.
absolutely.
Okay.
All the documentation that, whether it be the facial images runs through facial recognition software, any of the birth certificates, social security cards, anything that we take in to review for the purpose of issuing a credential would be stored in the system.
Okay. On a hypothetical future application, let's say driver's licensing was available at a third-party vendor like the AAA or at the county clerk, is there easy potential for them to access your central Kindle system to see those documents for things like renewals?
If they're going to be doing renewals only, then they would not need access to see those images and things.
What about first
and
time,
that's the
if they're going
plan.
to do first-time issuance, is there an easy IT path to give them access to that centralized database?
There is not a plan right now for third-party issuers to be granted the ability to do first-time issuance, only renewals. So we would lock down their permissions to the roles they need and to the data that they need.
Well, no, there's not a plan. I'm just asking if there is a relatively easy IT path to get there.
Yeah, they could be granted authority to do other types of services, but it would open up for additional access.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Representative All.
Yeah, I just want to brag on my personal experience in this space at the Transportation Cabinet. I had to get my daughter a real ID. She just turned 18, had to get an updated driver's license. Couldn't get an appointment in Lexington. That's okay, I understand. But I was like, well, I have to come to Frankfort anyways for a committee meeting. Won't you come with me, and we'll just make a day of it right before the Capitol was shutting down. So we come up here, we go over to the Transportation Cabinet to get the real ID, and checked in, was fine. We're in the holding tank or the waiting area, and the lady who is communicating with us comes out and says, Now, folks, I'm really sorry. Our system is down this morning, but just hang on a second. We'll see. Sometimes it comes back up if we just, do the right thing, maybe say a little prayer. It's all good. And so she came back out in like 15 minutes, and the system was back up. And I'm not sure what everybody else was there for, but we went over into this little side room to get the real ID, and it took maybe 2 minutes. Yeah. It was just a great experience. It was really quick and really smooth after we got the system back up. So I know sometimes there's a lot of bugs or ghosts or gremlins in the system that we have to work through, but my experience was it was okay and it was good, and I just appreciate everybody's work on that and on that system, and we had a great experience, and just appreciate your work.
I think that now that and I appreciate you saying that, now that we're past the Real ID enforcement date and we're past kind of the 15-year-old excitement, things have smoothed out quite a bit. A lot of more staffing has been allocated, and that's been really good. I think this new system, the driver's license system that's going to be developed, or that is being developed, Kindle, is going to bring a lot more efficiencies within those offices and a lot more online services through some special authentication to allow people to not have to come into the office at all. So we're really excited about some of those things coming. Yep.
Very good. Senator Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So your authentication authorization system that you have out, you have clerks, and maybe we'll have third parties in the future. How will that work with what COT is doing? Will it be COTs be used, their new system? Will you use that? Will you integrate it? What is going to happen with that?
Well, we don't know for sure how we're going to utilize it. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, as he said. Some of our systems for motor carriers, driver licensing, and vehicle registration and renewal already have authentication systems, so we have to figure out how we migrate to those and if it makes sense to migrate to those. And some may not. So, for instance, our driver's license, what we're going to be calling e-services, in the future, what we would like to see is a higher level of authentication for certain types of transactions. If you want an address change or a name change or something like that, ultimately we would like to utilize our mobile driver licensing that'll be rolling out soon to have to authenticate using your face and an ID to do that at a higher level so that we know you are who you are before you can change your name online, things like that. How we would integrate that with their system, I'm not sure yet. So those are all details that we have to work through.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember back in my days, we tried to do a statewide authentication authorization system, and it didn't take hold. I don't think it didn't work. And so what I'm hearing right now is, even though we're doing this system, if I'm a teacher, at least, I'm going to have 3 different authentications to authenticate to the state in 3 different ways. So I'm hoping, and that means we're going to be paying these third-party vendors 3 different times for the same person instead of one person. So I'm hoping that we can perhaps figure out a way to get past this as we move on, and maybe technology has advanced enough.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we want to enable citizens to have as few accounts as possible. I mean, I as a citizen want few accounts as possible to keep up with. So anything that we can do to work with COT to make that a possibility, we'll do that. We just don't want to hinder functionality as a result. So we have to make sure we talk through all those things and can overcome any of those challenges.
Right. Yeah, this is an issue. Thank you for, I know it's you guys have a tough job with the technology moving on and solving that problem. And so,
Yeah.
and I forgive you for delaying me coming here. The transportation department delayed my arrival, but since they were paving a road in my district that I had to wait for it, I'm not going to complain at all.
That's right. Paving is
Thank you.
progress.
Yes.
Always good. Thank you so much for your testimony. The Secretary of State's office will be up next. Same drill. Please state your name. Make sure your microphone is turned on, and you may proceed.
All right. Jennifer Sketchfield, Assistant Secretary of State.
David Dukes, software developer.
I'm just going to go over a little bit background overview. Our IT programs or public-facing applications they're all web-based and hosted on an SOS web server. The internal applications use a client-server application that is accessed by SOS employee workstations. All applications utilize the SQL database. All applications are currently non-legacy applications built and maintained in-house by our IT staff of 5. I do want to highlight our IT staff. When we came into office in 2020, I think we only had 3 IT staff members. We have increased to 2 additional developers. These guys are amazing. When we come with something that we want change, we want to authenticate, we want to do anything, they build it in-house without complaint typically, making sure that the end user, the consumer, their constituents are taken care of and our systems work appropriately. We have a lot of applications in the Secretary of State's office. A lot of people don't realize how many different things that we do. Business applications are probably the biggest burden, biggest workload that they have. We do have built-in data transfers between the Secretary of State's office, the Department of Revenue, unemployment insurance, and Tyler Technologies. In the past, we also had data transfers with One Stop, but One Stop had, I think they upgraded the tax revenue software in February. They have not filed a business entity since then, and they have recently decommissioned their services. So we are now the only place you're going to do business filings. We also have applications in our land office, which is still here in the Capitol Annex. Our poor employee by himself here, but he does a phenomenal service interacting with the counties when we have land annexations and other things. Obviously, everybody knows about the election applications that are hosted by Secretary of State's office. These also include internal secure portals for all 120 county clerks so that we're able to communicate with them and get information out to them as well as get to us. We have our notary applications. This includes internal secure portal also with the county clerk's office because they are the ones that issue the notaries once they have applied with us. We have the trademarks and service marks application, apostilles, UCC, front office applications. This includes viewing of occupational license tax documents, the Safe at Home program, Kentucky Ambassador, and Kentucky Colonels. We have the summons applications, and this is something that we've expanded, or not expanded, I guess, but we have allowed for interface with AOC, so it's much more, I guess, it's a quicker application to assist our court systems, and interfaces with AOC and USPS. Notification services, many of you all probably get those notifications from us that include daily actions, filings with UCC, business filings. During election season, obviously the candidate notification services. Executive Journal, which is obviously another huge application that we work with that has all of the governor's executive orders as well as enacted legislation. And then also the Secretary desk. As far as our cybersecurity systems, Our internal cybersecurity systems rely on Trend Micro Endpoint Security Platform installed on all computer devices, and it has access in weekly scans. Client server application hosted from an Amazon Web Services cloud storage repository. We are protected from cyber attacks by utilizing multiple Kentucky COT and AWS perimeter firewalls. All SOS workstations and servers accessing IDE. IDE is what our internal application is that does everything that we do. Content is secured by Trend Micro Endpoint Security Platform. We have a 5-year contract with them right now. The SQL database hosted on an internal AWS cloud, non-routable, non-public subnet accessed locally from the SOS network via COT, AWS encrypted VPN transit gateway. Industry standard best practice protocols used for both the SOS network and Active Directory. Future plan development that we have, I mean, we're constantly striving. I mean, when we have different things that the legislature enacts, we obviously then, we map out how we're going to reach create the applications, get it done. We are constantly trying to upgrade, improve. One of the things that we've enacted in the last 2 years is, and in fact, we're the only state in the Commonwealth that are right now doing e-apostilles, which is we're able to verify the documents either with the county clerk. We're now working with some of the school systems, the college systems, and we actually, our business director did not travel to the Hague Convention, but did a presentation regarding this because I think other states are trying to get this done too. Because all programs are built in-house, we don't anticipate large future purchases. We're probably the best IT deal in the state. Again, we don't take taxpayer funds. We completely fund our office on our own fees, and we appreciate you all allowing us to do that. Our IT costs are really our developers. Other than security things that we buy or different things that we buy. And I do think they're the best deal in the state. Again, we have no legacy systems, maintenance and upgrades. This is a constant. I mean, we're always doing something to try to improve what we're doing. And I'll take any questions.
Very good. Thank you so much for your testimony. And I think all of us up here would say we appreciate you operating on your fees and being self-sufficient for sure. Representative Hodgson has a question.
Yes, I think I heard you answer this, but I want to make sure. A couple of years ago, I had a defunct LLC that I deregistered with your office, but I kept getting tax notifications from the Revenue Cabinet, and it was like they weren't talking to each other. Has that been resolved?
I think it's...
No.
No.
No. Okay. What would it take to get that resolved? I'm sure I'm not the only one in that situation.
That's something I could look into.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I meet with my IT staff weekly. We talk about what things are going on, what things we want to work on, what new applications we want to create. And one of the things we were talking about yesterday in our meeting is the fact that because we're in-house, we have people that can work with other agencies to be able to create these gateways, to be able to share information and do things more efficiently.
Okay. But I guess intuitively, one would think if the LLC is defunct and has been closed with the Secretary of State, that they would close it for all concerned state agencies.
It should, but
Okay.
Communication sometimes is only one way.
Okay.
I'll throw One Stop under the bus.
Okay.
We would send that to One Stop, but it may not get to Department of Revenue.
It was more multi-stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But we're certainly in progress right now working with Revenue on how to make sure that they're getting our data as they had gotten it from One Stop.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Williams.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So, did I hear you say that One Stop is at the final stop? I guess I should say. Is it defunct? Is that what you said?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
I mean, One Stop obviously is not housed in the Secretary of State's office. It is a COT operated entity.
Right.
When I think it was Doris, was it Doris?
Yeah.
I know they went down. You couldn't do tax returns for a short period of time on the website, and at that time, One Stop put up on their website, go to Secretary of State, had where to go to get things done, and they have not filed a business entity
Okay,
since
so that's really my lead into my next
Yeah.
question. Same question I ask everybody. The authentication and authorization is new system that is going. So, will you be fully integrated with COTs, or as a teacher who has a business and a driver's license, am I going to need yet another authentication for the state?
I certainly hope that we can find a way to integrate with them because I think it would make sense. I mean, we'll just have to work with them to try to do that.
Yeah, and I'm asking these questions because I know this is incredibly difficult to do in the design of these programs. So I'm not throwing sticks at anybody. I'm just trying to illustrate the technical difficulty of actually integrating these with one system.
I think it would be something that we'd have to map out how to do. I
Right.
don't think it's impossible to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked internally about having some type of authentication because we do have people, you can go in and, change information. And so we do want to make sure that we've got the best system out there.
Do you have MFA now, multi-factor authentication?
No.
No.
Okay. Very good. Again, for this committee and for the general public, this is going to cost us some money, but it's probably worthwhile for the privacy of individual. Everybody talks about data privacy, personal information being privacy. We're going to have to coordinate it to make it a reality for us. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your testimony. Okay. Up next is the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Ms. Harp, please introduce yourself, and you may proceed.
Hi, good morning. Jennifer Harp, the Executive Director for our Office of Application Technology Services in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. So we like our acronyms, so I will do my best to make sure I catch those up front. So as you've heard with others that have testified today, CHFS is also working and continues to work to modernize across all of our IT solutions when and where feasible. When we looked ahead, I think our list that was provided to the committee included 3 major IT systems that we would like an opportunity to modernize over the next 6 years or so. And it's really hard, right, with technology to say, okay, what are we going to do in 6 years? Because things change significantly. Not only does the technology change, but our policies change quite rapidly as well. So I'll go ahead and talk about those 3 systems. And today, these systems are functioning. However, we do want to make sure that we are planning proactively and we're not waiting to the last minute when support runs out, whether it's through a software or vendor support. So we are looking at this for future. So our first one is our Medicaid Management Information System. That is Kentucky's Medicaid claims processing and financial system. It does provide a central platform for managing Medicaid operations. It processes provider claims as well as MCO encounters, supports payment processing and financial reporting with our federal partners. It also enables reporting to our federal partners. The system today that is in place has been in place since roughly 2004. We have established a work group that is looking at kind of a market scan. So we are reaching out to other states, understanding what other states have done, what their approaches have been for the replacement of their MMIS solutions. We're looking at various contracting mechanisms as well as our approach to modularity. Are we looking at one full solution or multiple solutions? So while that is in place, we are continuing with our existing vendor to make sure that we are able to maintain this system. Part of that ongoing partnership with the existing vendor is also to migrate from a data center in Orlando to an AWS data center. Our second application that I think is on your list is the Workers Information System, or TWIST. So TWIST is our central case management system used by our frontline protection and permanency staff within the Department for Community-Based Services. It serves as that central repository for child protective services and adult protective services. We track the financial transactions for foster parent reimbursement and adoption subsidies. It does provide some reporting and data extraction, supporting various outcomes and performance monitoring. So TWIST was developed and implemented and is maintained in-house within the cabinet and within OATS today in partnership with DCBS. So we manage ongoing enhancements. We support over 36 bidirectional data exchanges, ensure availability, compliance, and we support more than 3,000 users statewide. We are exploring modernization efforts. Here we're looking at other solutions that are out there in the market. While we are looking at those solutions and seeing what best meets the need for the Commonwealth, we are continuing to enhance our current solution, advance our modernization around the infrastructure and interface improvements. We're maintaining and enhancing our data exchange capabilities to support all of our partner agencies. We're continuing to build out capabilities for dashboarding opportunities with our business partners. And then our third one on the list is our Integrated Eligibility and Enrollment System, or IES, also known as Connect Benefits, Connect Healthcare. What we're looking for is the worker portal side of it. So I'll talk a little bit about that specifically here in a moment. The IES supports benefits, enrollment, eligibility, and enrollment for a number of health and human services programs. I won't go into all of them, but Medicaid, the various forms of Medicaid, including the Children's Health Insurance Program. It also supports our Integrated Health Insurance Premium Payment Program, the state-based marketplace or the qualified health plans with advanced premium tax credit, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, Kentucky's Transitional Assistance Program, KTAP or TANF, Child Care Assistance Program. We also support our home and community-based waivers through this solution. When we look at our IES, we look at it really in two pieces, our self-service portal and our worker portal. Our self-service portal is what individuals in the public will see. That solution was modernized from .NET to Salesforce back in 2020. We selected Salesforce at that time because of that mobile-first approach. We wanted individuals to be able to access the system via any type of mobile device that they had. We understand at that time individuals didn't have computers, desktops, and things like that. And then so the worker portal did remain on .NET. While we have continued to enhance this solution to meet federal and state needs, we are wanting to further modernize that system. Today, it is hosted 100% custom development. It is hosted on-prem with COT, and we do have a vendor that helps support the maintenance and operations of that. We also have a volume of internal staff that help support the operations as well. So the solution was originally implemented in 2013. It has gone through major enhancements, adding in additional programs. We have completed a very detailed assessment looking at other platforms, looking at Salesforce, including others, to see what would best meet our needs into a future modernization. We are looking to leverage out of the box features as much as possible to also help bring down future changes and enhancements when there are policy changes, whether at the state or the federal level. We are estimating that the implementation would be about 2.5 years long, given the scope of the application. But our key benefits that we are looking for are improved services to beneficiary, really streamlining that access and better viewing of visibility within the cases, productivity and efficiency gains. So we want to reduce as much manual work and enhance workflows as we can for our workforce. Additional fraud prevention and accuracy. There's a lot of tools that are out there that some of these newer platforms already make available. Would also assist with analytics. And then just our ability to make changes and cost savings with out of the box. We're hoping that we can take in some of those cost savings and then have some of our staff help make those changes. We'd be able to make the changes quicker, lower integration costs with greater scalability. With HR 1 or House Resolution 1, there's increasing demands on workforce. So as we look to see how we're going to support and make system changes, we also have to consider the workforce and what tools we can put in place for them so that they can get all of the work done with the additional increase. We're continuing to partner with our existing vendor. We're continuing to make changes as it relates to state or federal requirements. We're making any type of looking at compliance. We are looking at fraud to see what we can do there, but we would plan for our future larger modernization efforts. So with the identity and access management for COT, CHFS does have Kentucky Online Gateway. We have recently transitioned to what we call KYID. It is our cabinet's single sign-on solution. I think it does a little bit different. It does provide all of the capabilities I think COT is looking at. We've talked with COT and their team when they were looking at various options. We participated in demos. We are working on our current KYID rollout. The multi-factor authentication is required based on the application. If the application requires it, then our solution will require it. We do have some applications that don't need that additional level. That's not to say that we can't require it. We are hopeful that this solution that COT would be implementing, we could partner with them and we can share the data back and forth. We don't want individuals to have to, state or citizens to have to go into COT system and then come to our system and have a different username and password. So we recognize that and we'll work with them, partner with them to make sure that we're sharing whatever data needs to be shared so that there is that single access point. Our solution also offers authorization with our application. So I think it goes a little bit further just because of the needs within the cabinet versus having to look at the Commonwealth as a whole. And I think that is it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So would you walk me through if, say, for instance, there's a foster parent and they want to go online and receive the information that they need to, whether it's insurance, Medicaid, case files, whatever. Do they have to go and log into each individual system? Or do they go to one place, one dashboard? There it is. They can pick and choose kind of what they need.
So it should be that. We do have a couple applications within the cabinet that are not secured behind our KYID solution for various reasons, whether they're going through a modernization effort or there's some features and functionality that don't quite allow them to do that. We are working with them with our future phases and implementation of our KYID solution to build out those capabilities so that we can support all of those. But in your example, yes, there is one single ID. They would go in, create an account. They can request access to the various applications using that one single username and password.
And that's currently on Salesforce. Did I hear you say that?
No, sir.
It's not on Salesforce.
No. So we have recently partnered with ForgeRock to support our multi-factor and single sign-on solution. There's a number of other tool sets that are used in the overall solution of our KYID, but essentially we have that single sign-on. Someone comes in, they create their account, they get their password, they come to a dashboard within KYID that has little widgets for each of our applications or however they need to apply, or if they're going to go and apply for Medicaid, then there's the Connect benefit that they can hit and apply for. They can when they go to complete that application within Connect benefits for their Medicaid, it actually takes them into a different system. So all of our applications do talk with our single sign-on solution.
Okay, good. All right. Looks like we have a question from Senator Williams.
Yes, you tried to anticipate the question. I was going to have you left out on the authentication authorization, but you do have your own KYID. So this is going to be a monumental task for COT, I think, to integrate everybody, because I'm going to have yet another log on in the foreseeable future for your cabinet as well. And maybe we can all get to one, but it's going to be a difficult project. It's going to cost money. But my other question is, you have a lot of personal information, HIPAA information, that sort of stuff online. And I'm glad to see that you're migrating off of somebody's cloud server on the third floor of their building in Orlando to an AWS cloud. Is that going to be a .gov cloud that's FedRAMP certified and those standards?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
It's part of the requirements.
I thought it might be. The federal government may have been doing that. And I think in general that any of our systems that have personal information or PII out there should really, if they're in the cloud, ought to be in a FedRAMP cloud on that, because that's the only way we can really protect it. So
absolutely. And that's part of the requirements as we're looking at solutions and platforms, talking with vendors. That is, we want that high trust FedRAMP certified.
Okay, you anticipate all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions at all from committee members? None? All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Next up on our agenda, I'm going to call Senator Williams to the witness table to present his bill for the upcoming session. I believe there's a copy of it in your folders. And Senator Williams, are you changing your mind? Okay.
Maybe a copy.
You make a copy of the bill would be good, yes. We all know who you are, but if you would state your name, and you can have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Senator Jay Williams, co-chair of this committee, and I'm here to present a bill draft that I have. But I presented this bill draft last Friday at another committee, and since then we have had another lawsuit regarding KCNA. And this is about KCNA, Kentucky Wired. If you indulge me, I want to take a little bit of history here, and then bring us up to date. The history, this started back in when the governor's father was governor. So I'll call him Dad Bashir, Governor Dad, whatever. There was a project, we got some federal money to do a project in rural Kentucky that would have handled some unserved people that there was no likelihood that we're ever going to get a vendor out there because it was really tough. And then somebody got the great idea of, hey, let's just apply this to the state and build an entire statewide network that we run. And this was in the 2010s in his administration. But my experience back in the 70s and the 80s, we decided that government wasn't a good platform to run technology. And actually regulating technology was not, we couldn't even regulate it, much less own it. And when we got out of the regulatory business in the 70s and the 80s, that is when we had the information explosion with the internet. I was selling software to Europe over there back then. And back then it was big. $100,000 doesn't sound like much now, but it was pretty big back then. And we could call Europe, any country in Europe, for cheaper than they could call the country right next to them. We could fly to any country in Europe for cheaper than they could fly next to them. And it was all because they were in this strict regulatory environment. They were trying to build their own networks, and we had deregulated environment. And so we've had this information explosion where we had the deregulation that came on. So we arrive up here in two administrations back, and they decide that we're going to bond money for 30 years to build a network, and we're going to justify it on a set of assumptions. Now, you have to realize we did have broadband back then. We were trying to wireless internet for some of these rural areas, and high speed was considered 25 meg. Okay, you had that down, man. That was a good solid connection if you could get that. And you want to buy a gigabit? Well, yeah, you could probably get it. It takes some time. It takes a lot of upfront costing. Probably costs you $10,000 a month. Okay, now you can get gigabit for under $100. Okay, it might cost you $100 to install it, $100 a month. Some places it's $50 a month. And so we built a network where things have changed. I used to say that, well, heck, by the time these bonds are paid off, we're going to be sending communications through hyperspace. And, well, haven't gotten quite to hyperspace, but we're in space. We got satellites up there in LEO that probably we could buy Starlink terminals and pay the monthly bill for what we have sunk into this network for people out there in that rural area that can't get the access. Not to say there's not a lot of benefit. I mean, there has been benefit. But one thing that has become evident is that the state cannot run this network, okay? We have got an issue where the current governor's father legacy is at severe risk, okay? We have somebody that came to this committee room right here that when asked to do better, could not promise to do better with KCNA. A chairman of KCNA who at a legislative hearing got up and slammed his chair into the desk at the end of the hearing. Apparently he didn't like the questions. We were just asking him about a $10 million check that he had mailed and hadn't been cashed for a year and couldn't find out what's going on. But as it turns out since then, there are even more issues. There is nothing or very little in this bill that the governor could not fix right now. You're accumulating, Governor, the KCNA is accumulating lawsuits. Almost every one of your vendors is in a lawsuit with you or each other. You try to get a vendor right now, you separate from this $10 million check, you had a procurement. You didn't go with the low cost. You have a vendor now that you're trying to force him, and I've read the suits, for the next 10 years to maintain the network at the same price he maintained it for over the last 10 years. And you know what? This is not about contracts, okay? This is about reality. In reality, if you try to force them to do that, the network's going to fail because you can't maintain this network spread throughout all the state at the same cost you've been maintaining it the last 10 years. That just doesn't make sense. You have to work with your partners. You have to understand the technology. And every time we connect another state government to this network, actually we're paying more than we could buy out from the private sector somewhere. And we say, well, we're not really paying more because we're paying ourselves back. We're trying to get closer to losing zero. The network was set up. We are never going to get to the point of making a profit. We're never going to get to the point. We would like to get to the point of just not losing so much. We probably won't get to zero. But this current KCN administration is going the wrong way. They are set us up for liabilities. They've set us up in court case after court case where the only winners are going to be the attorneys, and they're putting our network at risk, Governor. You need to stop running for some other office and get down here and manage this network that we have 171 school districts, over 600,000 students that are counting on this every day. And we just heard what happens if this goes down. And this is all not just about money. This is about reliability. We need to get some people in charge of this network that know technology, that know what it means to have 5 nines of support, that sweat the fact that one of their users is going to be down for an hour, okay? And that's going to be a major disruption for them. And not a lawyer who's filing a docket next month or next year. Those are the people that need to help us negotiate our way out of the hole that we're in. So what this does is simply does two things, primarily. One, it puts the director of Commonwealth Office of Technology as the executive director of KCNA. Doesn't change any of the lawsuit. We're not talking about changing contracts. We're not talking about that. Puts him in charge because he's responsible. Right now, COT doesn't maintain the network, the backbone network, but they light it up. And two, it makes the chairman of the board the CIO of education technology, because that CIO has more students, more schools connected than anybody else out on the network. He is very sensitive, as we've heard, to connectivity, and you cannot ask them to take a 10-year plan that they've already implemented and on 30 days notice change it. Nor can you ask any of these other users out there. We've had testimony before this committee from various parts of these, and we know that there's tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of users whose connectivity is at risk. And some of those users, particularly the ones out in the rural area, when you give them a disconnect notice, they don't have an option. Some of these wireless internet service providers that are bidding on our broadband, okay, out here, they are bidding on prices that they think they can get. They're bidding on a backbone they think that will be there. That's our Kentucky Wired. And it is at risk right now. And they came here and said, we are at risk. So I'm asking you, this is a bill, we can't do anything about this. This is not the legislature. We have given money after money after money. We don't run a piece of it. You do, Governor. And your father set this up, and we've got a set of contracts that we need people that know technology, that know customers, and know users that can negotiate us a way out of this hole. And if you think that my sense of the legislature is we're already losing a bunch of money, we're not going to lose any more money. You're going to have to figure out a way to negotiate out of it and you are likely not going to get these. We're already paying extraordinary fees for lawyers, and if there's settlements in these cases, we can't afford to lose any more money. And I don't think you can afford just to let your father's legacy system fall on its face. And it's about to fall on its face unless we have somebody intervene that has some technical knowledge, some ability to negotiate with vendors. And that's what these two see. You have them in your department. We are not bringing in people from the outside. We are not bringing in legislators. You have the expertise in state government, I believe, to solve the problem. But you're going to have to change the direction of KCNA to do it. So this is a bill. I will answer whatever questions about the bill. But my hope is we never have to pass this bill because the governor has already taken the essential steps to fix the problem by the time we get there in the next session. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your forbearance.
Very good. Thank you, Senator. Very well said. Any questions from committee members on the proposed bill?
We've heard a lot of testimony about this problem in the last year in this committee, and I think this is a good bill. I've read through it. I think it puts the people with the technical expertise in charge, and especially the testimony we've heard from the Department of Education is very alarming that they're using 25 times more data than everybody else in the state put together. We've got to get this fixed. We cannot put our school districts all over the state at risk, and not just at risk for loss of connectivity, but at risk for huge discounts that we get from things like being E-rate qualified and that sort of thing. So I just want to commend you for bringing this forward. And like you, I hope the governor can fix this with a stroke of a pen right now, if he chooses to. But I'm certainly ready to co-sponsor this bill with you when we get into the session in January. Thank you.
Representative All.
I just want to comment on a few points. I believe when they testified to our committee, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, but the gentleman at the table for KCNA, they clarified that no school district would lose connectivity. I think you were here when they said that, and so I think we can all agree that we want to make sure nobody, period, loses connectivity, but they testified during that committee that no school district would lose connectivity. Do you remember that, Senator?
I remember that testimony. I also remember in that committee, the CIO of Education testified. They assured him that they were going to have their network up 10 years ago, and he needed to go on their network 10 years ago, and he didn't believe them, and they went with a different network, and it turned out they didn't have their network, despite their insurance, okay? You know, technology, you in technology, you don't go with the new system. You go with the proven system. The other thing that has happened since that testimony is Friday, the LEDCorp, who actually is the one that maintains the network, filed suit to be let out of their contract. They no longer want to maintain this network. That's why they didn't do it. So they are making assurances. They will have to force their vendor that supports this network all over the state to continue to do it. The court's going to be in that case. They're going to have to force them because LEDCorp says, hey, we can't maintain this network for the next 10 years that we did the last 10 years at the same price, and we don't think our contract requires us to do it. I'm not talking about the contracts, but that is new testimony. And that is not just testimony, that's a new lawsuit where the fundamental vendor is checking out. And if they force them to stay, you and I know that a vendor that can't afford to fix the network can't fix the network. It can't. They'll keep them up 80% of the time, 90% of the time. They can't deliver the 5 nines that we all expect in this world.
And my other thing on the lawsuits, I'm unaware, uneducated on the new one, but on the original one with Celicom and KCNA, last I heard that KCNA had won both at the circuit court level and at the Court of Appeals level because their heart of that lawsuit was that Celicom was connecting people without approval. And so that's been upheld both at the circuit and at the court appeals level. So I understand that none of us want to be in lawsuits, and you're right, the winners usually are the attorneys, unfortunately, in those cases. But we can't let people on the back of the Commonwealth go connecting people without approval. We can't let any vendor do that when it's a state-supported wide network. So sometimes the only recourse you have, unfortunately, in those situations is a lawsuit when you have a vendor going rogue and doing things without approval.
Well, I concur, but what you have to do is negotiate away. There are actually multiple lawsuits. The lawsuit that LEDCOR just joined is a separate lawsuit.
Right.
Okay, it's not this other lawsuit. Okay, so again, I'm not going to get into the lawsuits. All I know is that just about every vendor on this network, in one way or the other, is suing each other for different things. And the most recent one, the one that most concerns me about the ability of KCNA to deliver, doesn't really involve Celicom, okay? It involves the fact that the network vendor wants out, the one that does our core backbone. And so I think we have a lot to learn in the discovery. But quite frankly, I think KCNA, the current executive administration, has done the judicial system no favors either, okay? They're almost at a no-win we're at a no-win situation. This is the kind of thing where you need to bring in somebody and negotiate a way out of this. And because I do not believe there is the will in this body to lose one more dime than we're already losing on this network. And so they're going to have to figure out a way to work with their existing partners to get them out of court and put them back to work for the citizens of the Commonwealth. And I think these two gentlemen here, COT, education, technology, I think they are the ones that can do it. And if the governor takes a look at his people, they are capable. If he can come up with somebody better than them, great. I don't know who that is, but they need to have a change of direction and what's going on and negotiate an end to these lawsuits. Not something we can do. It's all on them. So you have valid points.
Any other questions from committee members? Well, thank you, Senator. I think, and I agree with your statement that the losers here are the people of the Commonwealth, and it's our money that continues to go down this hole. And I would encourage the governor, just as you said, to fix this. It is in his purview. He's got the people, and perhaps maybe actually focus on this than a podcast. Who knows? Maybe actually fix the Commonwealth and our problems here first. Thank you, Senator. We appreciate it, and certainly look forward to your bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Next up, our next meeting will be October the 8th, 10 o'clock in this room, chaired by my co-chair, Senator Williams. And for this meeting, if there are no more questions or